Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Teach Me How. Today I'll be explaining how to acquire the Scomplink and Double Saber in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order on the hardest difficulty without taking damage. Let me start by saying there are several ways to acquire the double-bladed lightsaber. However, the one I'll be showing here is the method I used for my 100% no damage run because it's the safest way to acquire it. This split starts directly following the defeat of the ATST, and your first objective is to acquire the Scomplink upgrade for BD1. To make our way to it, you'll want to head into the hangar and pick up the scan on the boxes. If you remember back to my Zepho 1 guide, we opened a shortcut while making our way through the village. This was the reason why. Take that shortcut into the village and simply deal with the enemies in the same way I do here.
Right there! Get in there! He's gonna wipe us out! Is it just me? Luck's on my side. You won't get away! Assail the intruder! I can take you out, no problem.
As you approach the meditation point, I highly suggest you rest. This will respawn all the enemies you just killed in the village behind you, however, it has a more advantageous consequence. If you rest at this point, you'll encounter a different set of enemies as you exit the tunnel than if you don't rest. If you do not rest at this point, you'll essentially get the same enemies you fought the first time you came through this way. If you rest, however, you'll only get 3 troopers. Less enemies equals less risk, thus why I suggest resting and forcing these enemies to populate the area. I'm going to show both versions, however, for completeness, so let me explain what I feel is the best way, and that's if you rest, then I'll cover the other. So the best way to deal with these 3 enemies is to start by using a technique I developed that I call camera flicking. Force abilities that are used behind an object when line of sighted from the enemy will fail the majority of the time. However, if you flick your camera as you're using a force ability, it will allow you to still interact with the enemy when you otherwise would not be able to. So you'll want to do that here on the first melee trooper, then move back to deflect the ranged trooper.
I think he's trying to run.
You'll then want to move back down and wait until you drop out of combat. There are 2 ways to tell if you're out of combat. The first is you'll see BD1 move physically on your back, and the second is you'll be able to put your lightsaber away. Once this condition is met, force push the melee commander using the flick technique. Now sometimes this won't push him all the way off the ledge like it did to me here, so just push again if that happens. So what if you don't rest? Well, here's what it will look like, and an example of how to deal with it. I'm not going to explain this one in detail because it's fairly straightforward and not the ideal way to handle this area in my opinion.
Target spotted. Got it. Keep away from him. He's too far away. Keep your distance and fire. Good enough to win? Firing on the enemy. You say so. You go get him. Take him down. That's all.
The enemies in this next area are the exact same as the first time you came through here, so you'll utilize the exact same strategies as explained in the Zepho 1 guide. Make sure you don't jump too early for this wall, because if you do, you have a good chance of catching the wind and missing the wall altogether, resulting in fall damage. Once you've dealt with the enemies, force push this wall and follow the area around to find the Scomplink upgrade for BD1.
Wasn't expecting this. It's a giant Zepho statue. Kinda thought there would be Zepho stuff inside. Scomplink? Yeah, you're right. I think I could replace yours with this. Let's get you fixed up. How's that? Wanna try it out?
Follow my example to get through this area and deal with the 3 troopers the way that I do here. Also, don't forget to get the chest before leaving. Now, as you leave through this door, just fall straight down and follow my example here on how to get back to the ship. Don't forget this echo immediately after you complete the wall runs.
Where are you? We can't wait for you any longer. Sorry.
As you make your way back to the village, you'll have a few troopers in your way. The first 2 melee are simple enough. Move to this position and kill them as they jump the gap. You'll then need to deal with the 2 ranged troopers at the top of this building. I suggest perfect deflex.
The Jedi is... I can get through.
Move to this position to aggro the trooper and deal with him, and then finally drop down and deal with the last trooper, then follow my path here to get back to the ship. Alright, I'm going to skip through all of this dialogue. All you need to know is once the dialogue is done, you need to fly back to Bogano. There's really not much to explain here on Bogano until we get the double saber. Similar to the Scomplink, you'll be running essentially the same route as the Bogano 1 guide. So just follow my pathing example here, and if you need a refresh on the strategies, reference the Bogano 1 guide and I'll chime back in once we have the saber.
Another one? BD1, over here.
So as you enter this room, be sure to get the secret and the 2 scans.
Cordova's repair kit. He hoped someone would pick up his trail, but left BD1 to guide them. Thanks for the help.
My friend,
Once you've done that, interact with the table here to acquire your double saber.
to the council.
This hilt belonged to Cordova. Feels weird to say about someone I've never met, but it's kind of comforting. I agree. This place is special. I added his hilt to mine. I want to keep a piece of him with us.
Now it's very important that as soon as you exit the double-bladed lightsaber tutorial, you immediately run for the door, following the same path I use here. Splocks will spawn into the room after a set amount of time, and doing this will allow you to get past them without risking a fight. From here, open the door and follow my path back to the ship. Once you get to the ship, the split is done, and you're ready to head to Kashyyyk. Alright. Well, that was a fairly simple split to get through, and hopefully this guide was sufficient enough to get you through it without taking damage. So if you enjoyed this episode of Teach Me How, please consider subscribing to the channel and make sure to like the video. Doing this is the best way for you to tell me that you're enjoying the series, and it helps the channel out a ton. I'll be releasing new episodes every week, so don't forget to turn on notifications so you get to see them as soon as they're put out. If you have any questions or any feedback to share for the series, please share them in the comment section below. As always, thank you for watching, and thanks for learning.
Blah, blah, blah.